In this video, we're having a look at the Motorola G56 5G. Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. So this is the Motorola G56. This is one of two entry-level models that Motorola has recently introduced here in Australia. This is only $399 Australian, which is pretty amazing when you have a look at all the things I'm going to show you that this phone has for $399. It's pretty darn impressive. So to begin with, physically, the back is sort of like, it feels almost like a rubbery kind of tactile kind of feel, not smooth. So I'd say non-slip grip is a way I would describe it. Not unpleasant, but just yeah, something to be aware of. So that's what it looks like there. This is the Pantone Mist, I think they call it, and it's also available in a black oyster black. Dark grey, in a blacker colour. So if you like dark colour, you can get it in a darker colour. In terms of buttons and whatnot, you've got USB-C down here on the bottom. Nice little touch is you have a 3.5mm headphone jack. So if you want to plug in headphones, you can do that. You can use wireless, obviously, but you don't have to use wireless headphones. On the side here, you've got a volume up and down button. Then you have a sleep and wake button. A really nice feature of the sleep and wake button is a fingerprint scanner is built into that button. I really like phones that have the fingerprint scanner built into the side button, because as you're waking it, you just leave your finger on there and it automatically unlocks the phone. You can also unlock it with the front camera, so it does have face unlock if you prefer using that. In terms of specs, it comes with a MediaTek Dimensity 7060 processor with 8 gigs of RAM. Not sure exactly how fast that is, but in terms of actual user experience, I haven't had any issues. It's got a 6.7-inch LCD screen. Interestingly, with the screen, you'll notice that it's got quite thick bezels down here on the bottom and up there on the top, which it is what it is, but it's interesting that it is noticeable that those bezels are there. Again, not a big deal, but just something that I definitely noticed. In terms of SIM cards, it has dual SIM, which means it's got a normal SIM that you can put in there, but it also supports an eSIM. eSIMs are really useful because what I'll do is I'll assign like my normal SIM card with my contract provider with you know, whoever I'm with, to the normal physical SIM in there, but then I'll use the eSIM when I'm traveling to assign that eSIM to a service that I'll use to get mobile data while I'm out and about in a different country, so you don't have to pay for the, I won't say exorbitant, I will say ambitious roaming charges that some telcos charge these days. So nice that you've got the eSIM in there as well. You can also put an SD card in there with the eSIM for expanding the storage. Now this phone can come in 128 gigs or 256 gigs of internal storage, and the 128 that is expandable up to 1 terabyte. So you can put a 1 terabyte micro SD card in there, and with the 256 you can put a 2 terabyte micro SD card. So you can really bump up the storage a lot if you want to use an SD card in there as well. Getting back to that screen, it does have a 120 hertz refresh rate, and that is adaptable. So what that means is that when you need the fast refresh rate, so if you're moving and flicking and doing stuff like that where the screen needs to refresh really quickly, it will refresh really quickly. But if you are looking at something static on the screen, so let's say, for example, you're just looking at a still image on the screen, then you won't need a really high refresh rate, and the phone will automatically drop the refresh rate in order to conserve battery life and things like that. So it's nice that it's got that adaptable refresh rate. In terms of the screen, as you can see there, it's nice and bright, nice and clear, crisp colors. I haven't had any issues with the screen. Outside in bright daylight, you might struggle a little bit, but overall, it's a nice bright screen. Colors are rendered quite well. You can see here with this footage, it plays just fine. The speakers on here, decent, not amazing. Again, $399, you don't expect too much, but I think what you get for your $399 in terms of the screen functions and in terms of how it looks and how you can watch stuff, I wouldn't have any issues watching content on the screen. I think it looks just fine. In fact, almost better than just fine. In terms of playing games on the G56, you can see here that in terms of performance, it runs just fine. The graphics are definitely not as sharp or as bumped up as they might be on some other phones, but in terms of performance, it's perfectly serviceable. I'm not a huge gamer, but I can see here that it's not stuttering, it's not having any issues in terms of performance. So I think whilst the games might not look as good as they can on more gruntier phones, I think just in terms of playability and just in terms of the experience, you can play just fine if you're looking to play games on the phone, even though it may not be the best for that kind of stuff. But yeah, perfectly usable when it comes to playing games It will charge at 30 watts through the USB-C port. It doesn't support wireless charging, but again, at this price point, that doesn't really surprise. It would be nice if it had wireless charging, but at this price point, I don't expect wireless charging. So yeah, I think 30 watts will definitely get you charged pretty darn quickly. I think that's probably about an hour to an hour and a half to go from 0 to 100%. And in terms of battery life, I haven't tested it outright. I've only had the phone for a few days, but in terms of my actual usage, the battery's been pretty darn good. Obviously, if you're going to be playing games, watching movies, the battery's going to get drained a lot quicker. But if you're just using it for general, surfing the web, checking emails, things like that, maybe a bit of social media, it'll definitely get you through a day and then some. So yeah, the battery life, no complaints there. Something that I think is definitely worth mentioning is that in the box, it comes with a little case for it. I mean, don't know if I call this a case. It's almost like a wrap. It's a little plastic kind of see-through wrap for it. But just the fact that this is a more budget-conscious phone and it comes with some protection built in, I think is really, really nice. In terms of actual durability, it does have IP68 and IP69 protection, so it is a pretty robust phone. And I think IP68 means it's pretty much waterproof. So again, I wouldn't be taking it on a diving trip with you, but if you have it in your pocket and you get thrown in a pool or you get caught in a thundercloud and it can be completely immersed in water and it's going to work just fine. So yeah, again, for a more affordable phone to be as robust as it is, yeah, I think it's pretty nice that it is as robust as it is. A few little features that you have on Motorola phones, and this is all Motorola phones, some things that I really like. So for example, one of the things I really like is you can shake the phone and that will turn on your flashlight. You shake it again and it turns off the flashlight. Another feature, this is probably my favorite one, is if you wiggle the phone, it will activate the camera on the phone. Now you might go, well, why are you that excited about that? The reason for that is if you think about it, when you've got the phone in your pocket and you want to take the phone out to take a photo or grab some video of something that's happening in front of you right away, you could take the phone out and then you've got to unlock it, or you've got to tap the screen, then you've got to go to this. Whereas with this, you can just wiggle it right away and hey, your camera's ready to go. So I really like that wiggle function. I wish I could have it on all my phones. Also, you can tap the back of the phone and that will activate your quick look function. So this is pretty cool. So you can just tap the back of the phone and you can have it perform a function. So for example, you could have it launch a particular app, so you could open up a particular app that you choose or some of these default ones, and you can adjust the strength of how hard or gentle you need to tap it to activate that function. So some really nice little features that I think Motorola has with their phones, which I find really, really useful. In terms of specs of the cameras, which I think is what a lot of people look at when they're looking at phones, a 50 megapixel main camera, which is pretty darn good. It's got some decent zoom on it as well. You've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and then you have a 32 megapixel front facing camera for your selfies and that kind of stuff. In terms of specs, what you can get out of it, unfortunately no 4K, so you don't actually shoot 4K with this in terms of video. And then in terms of just normal full HD, so 1080, it'll do 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. So you can do that slow-mo in, well, slightly slow-mo for 60 frames per second. And yeah, in terms of the quality of the cameras, look, it's a $399 phone. I think it's okay. I think it's pretty decent in terms of stills. Video's all right. It does have some clever little things in here that are supposed to be really good for low light. I haven't tested it too much, but in my brief tests, I found that it does do some very clever things in terms of giving you some good options with the Sony sensor to capture low light images. So in terms of some of the things that you can do with photos, so for example, here you've got the unblur and you've got magic erase. So I can just tap on the magic eraser and it gives me suggestions of, do you want to try and erase these people from the photo? And I go, yep, cool, go ahead and erase all of them. And it goes off and has a bit of a think about things. And there you go. It's done an okay job. Over here, it's been a bit sort of, it's not great, but overall I think it's done a pretty good job. This is a photo that I do use to try and test this because it's not the easiest thing to do, but overall it's not too bad. Now, one thing to be aware of, it doesn't have some of the more advanced AI stuff that some of the Motorola phones have. I'm guessing that's because of the power of the processor, but having said that, I'm not sure how much people use those AI things. I'm sure people will tell me in the comments that they use them all the time. But so, if you use a lot of those AI stuff, it's not all there, but you still have some of the basic stuff. Like, so for example, if you're in a photo and you want to remove something in a photo, you can do that. If you want to unblur a photo, you can do that. So I think most of the AI stuff, at least for myself, that I find useful is the photo editing stuff, and most of those functions are in there with the phone. So what is my final thought on the Motorola G56? Look, for $399, I think you're getting really pretty darn good value out of a package like this. So in terms of the size of the screen, the quality of the screen, the quality of the cameras, again, not amazing, but for the price, I think perfectly reasonable for the price. I think if you were looking for which I think these days $399 for a phone is pretty inexpensive. If you were looking for a pretty inexpensive smartphone and you're in the market for that sort of price range, I think the Motorola G56 is definitely something worth having a look at. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was useful. If it has been helpful or useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help really does help me out, so I appreciate that. And if you have already subscribed, thank you so much for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one. Safe and happy, whatever it is you're doing. Octa-core CPU and IMG BXM-8-256 GPU, which, I mean, I don't have to tell you what that means because I can't tell you what that means because I don't know what that means. In terms of actual it comes with a MediaTek Dimensity. Wait, is it MediaTek Dimension or MediaTek Dimensity? Dimensity. Australian here in Australia, as you no, don't do the same joke. Don't do the same joke. It's a bad joke. It's not, well, it's not a bad joke, but it's not a great joke.